Last week, the main Star Wars comic by Kieron Gillen released its 55th issue, completing the Hope Dies arc. Today we'll be discussing it in detail, so if you haven't read it yet and you want to, be warned of spoilers ahead. Having teamed up with the Mon Calamari and Queen Trios of the industrial world Shu-Torun, the Rebel Alliance has built an impressive naval fleet at Mako Ta Base. Unfortunately, a flashback reveals that despite her help for the previous 12 issues or so, Trios has been working for the Empire the entire time. Her engineers sabotaged every Rebel cruiser, preventing them from entering hyperspace, making them sitting ducks for Darth Vader, the Executor, and a fleet of Star Destroyers. They immediately open fire and destroy Willard's ship. Varden Willard briefly appeared in A New Hope as the commander who greeted Leia on Yavin 4. The cruisers are also unable to launch fighters to defend themselves, so Luke, Wedge, Hobby, and Zev Seneska watch helplessly as Bandwin and Lejay's ships are also destroyed. Lejay was another background character from A New Hope, and Bandwin was seen in Rogue One. But a workaround is discovered that would theoretically allow fighters to launch, the hope being that if a rebel ship's transponder approached the hangar doors, a failsafe would kick in and they would open. With the desperation of Jyn Erso and the rest of the Rogue One team on his mind, Luke gives it a shot and the doors open. The rest of the pilots quickly join him and the new squadron is dubbed Rogue Squadron. As Leia and Mon Mothma figure out their next steps, Hudsall, another background character, is killed. By the way, that guy's first name is Bob. Bob Hudsall. That might get the award for least Star Wars-y Star Wars name ever. Slicers discover an override for the Shu-Torun code aboard the Executor, so Leia and General Draven take Trios' abandoned ship and board the Super Star Destroyer. They recover the code, but are quickly chased by Darth Vader himself. Draven and the rest of the troops sacrifice themselves to buy Leia enough time to escape with the codes. The override works, and General Dodonna provides his ship as a distraction while the codes are distributed to the surviving ships. The remaining members of Rebel High Command escape, along with leaders like Hera Syndulla. Dodonna is killed and the survivors flee, scattered and alone. With few leaders left, Mothma promotes Leia to General, Luke to Commander, and Han to Colonel. Separated from Chewie and the Falcon, Han takes Luke and Leia to Nar Shaddaa, where they hitch a ride with Sana Starros. Meanwhile, Darth Vader reports the decimation of the rebellion, which the Emperor shrugs off as good enough. It's been said that the Star Wars comic will soon be nearing the time of The Empire Strikes Back, and these last few issues make major strides in that direction. We have the birth of Rogue Squadron, the promotions of our main heroes, and the deaths of many Rebel commanders who don't show up in episodes 5 or 6. But their deaths bring along a few complications within the Star Wars canon, mostly with the book Rebel Files. That book mentions Draven and Dodonna as being alive after the events of this comic, so I wanted to discuss that and talk about how I deal with contradictions. I know some people are going to disagree with my philosophy here, and that's fine, do what you want. This is just my way of thinking. When you're comparing a reference book with story material, I think you just have to give the story material priority. I think writing a memorable, quote, on-screen death for a character like Draven should be more important than making sure everything lines up with every little fact written in every reference book. I'm realizing more and more that the visual dictionaries and other materials like that are kind of in a canon gray area. I think we can consider those little details to be true until an actual story says otherwise. Sure, in a perfect world, every reference book would line up with every story, but I don't think it's worth getting upset over. Now, when one story contradicts another story, that's a different situation. That happened in the Darth Vader comic when it contradicted the Ahsoka book, but the problem was fixed very quickly. Anyway, that's just how I feel about it. Overall, this arc was good. I thought the pace could have been picked up a notch in a couple of issues, but I appreciate that the larger story is moving right along. I figured they would have spent hundreds of issues covering the 3 years in between episodes 4 and 5, but that's not the case. I also really like that Trios has become sort of the big bad of this time period. Since Vader can't get any comeuppance, we have a villain that we can root against that will likely face some very real consequences in her near future, and she serves as an excellent foil to Leia. If you're interested in reading this arc for yourself, I put a link to it in the description. But what did you guys think of Hope Dies? Let me know in the comments, and if you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and consider checking out our Patreon page. As always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.